You know, sometimes when you finish a book and you're just like, I am now jealous of anyone I recommend this book to because they get to read it for the first time. They get to experience this masterpiece in the way that I just have. If I could wipe my brain clean and read that book again without knowing what's going to happen, I absolutely would. Because I get that a lot. And I'm really hoping it's not just me. I'm even getting it with the book that I'm currently reading. This is Electra by Jennifer Saint. And I'm really savouring every page of it because I already know this will be on this list eventually. But I have compiled a list of 11 books that I have this feeling towards, because although I can't read these again for the first time, you maybe can. So this is my offering. This is my gift to you. Keep the receipt in case you want to return it. But before we dive into this video, I'm very excited to let you know that it is kindly brought to you by Skillshare. Now, Skillshare is a platform for curious and creative people with literally hundreds of fascinating courses that you can take. They are designed and curated by experts in their field, literally sharing their skills. You see, you get it now? With the books that I'm going to be talking about today, the authors have nailed creating a captivating plot. And there's a course for doing that too. For example, the author Gail Foreman has this great course on different exercises you can do to discover and write your fictional story. I really enjoyed taking this course and it's taught me a lot as a writer as well. But you can also learn things like photography, graphic design, looking after houseplants, literally everything is there. And all in one place. So now is the perfect time to start investing in yourself and your personal growth. And if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, then you're in luck. Because the first 1,000 people to click the link in my description box will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare Premium. You can go and join a huge learning community with lessons that you can do completely at your own pace and in your own time. So thank you so much, Skillshare, and enjoy. Now for some books that I would sell my soul to read again for the first time. Starting with book number 1, Death of a Salesman by Arthur Miller. More like Death of my goal not to cry today. This is so sad. It is heart-wrenching. It's actually a play, but it's also so great to read because every line is just crafted immaculately. The sentences are written so beautifully, so symbolically. Literally right from the opening line, Arthur Miller had me in the palm of his hand. Miller actually wrote this as a tragedy of the common man, because tragedies up until this point had often focused on kings or gods or battle heroes. Think Shakespeare or Greek tragedies. But in this book, we're just focusing on a very ordinary man, just doing his best for his family. He's devoted his life to his career as a salesman, but slowly begins to realize that he's actually expendable. He is a completely disposable member of staff. And it's also about the moment that his children realize that he is flawed, that he's a real person, he's not a god amongst men. He is just mortal, and a huge theme in this book is perception and self-perception. Another huge theme is denial and false senses of grandeur, and each character is just so intricately and intimately created. They are perfect. And there are scenes in this play that I will just never ever forget, especially the ending. They don't just tug at the heartstrings, they literally yank them. And in my reading every day I choose suffering, so I loved this book. Next up, we have Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. So enchanting and mesmerizing, and unlike anything I have ever read before. The main character, Piranesi, gets his name from an Italian painter who is known for his observation skills and his perceptiveness. And our character is living in this huge, expansive house. It's all a bit mysterious at first. It's like this huge labyrinth of halls and statues. And day by day, Piranesi is walking around taking notes of all of his surroundings. He makes really careful records of everything that goes on and everything that he sees. I know this doesn't sound good, but trust me, the payoff is huge. And we slowly start to learn that this world that is all he knows maybe isn't quite what it seems. I actively don't want to say too much because you just have to read this for yourself and fall into it. And going in not knowing too much actually makes the whole experience better. So I don't want to say too much. Really, this book is a study in solitude. And the moment, literally the second I put this book down, I was jealous of anyone else who would get to read this for the first time. I will say that the beginning is deliberately very confusing. It's like one of those moments where you're like, I am reading the words and I have no idea what is happening in them. But trust me, please, please, please stick with it. Once the fog starts to lift and things become clearer, it is spellbinding. And if you won't take my word for it, this book actually won the Women's Prize last year. So she's critically acclaimed. And also, I love it. I love her. Never Let Me Go is another one of those books where you slowly start to realize that everything is not what it seems. To quote Wizards of Waverly Place. This is by Kazuo Ishiguro, who won the Nobel Prize for Literature, and rightly so. This book is a kind of dystopian sci-fi, but like the sci-fi is very, very light, set in an alternative 1990s England. It's about social alienation, betrayal, how vulnerable people in society are treated and handled by their carers. And we follow these people who are at a boarding school and they're being taught about art and literature and their bodies, but not a lot about the outside world. And that's all I'm gonna say. This is kind of like edging you. A little bit. Literary edging. Home Fire by Kamala Shamsi is a book that just blew me away the first time that I read it. It's actually a retelling of the play Antigone, but instead centering British Muslims. So on one hand, we have a conservative politician who has essentially made a career for himself as a Home Secretary by rejecting and denouncing his own Muslim heritage and essentially scaremongering the public to stay in power. And his son actually gets into a relationship with a Muslim girl. Now, this girl immigrated to the UK after her father became radicalized as a jihadi in their homeland. So we also followed this family who are just horrified by their father's actions. But her twin brother then also gets caught up in the wrong crowd. And so the book covers these two families who intertwine, and it's all about intergenerational tension, especially that between children and their fathers, because we have these two very different fathers who traumatize their kids in very different ways. There's also a kind of Romeo and Juliet forbidden love story. It's about hostile environments created by the UK government. It's about family and identity. It's about radicalization. And there's a huge climax. It is so well written. So moving on, next we have The Beast Itself, A Little Life. Now, I actually made a whole reading vlog about my experience of reading this book on my second channel, which I'll give you a little highlights reel of now. Did I finish this book, or did this book finish me? The happy years. Guys, the years were not happy. Hanya Yanagihara is making me care about these people, and then she's going to destroy them. It's an emotional roller coaster. Something just happened which has devastated me. I'm a mess. I feel like numb. I don't think I'll ever recover. So as you can see, this book hit me like Muhammad Ali. There's definitely a strong correlation between books that make me want to sob and books that have ended up on this list. Anyway, this is a story about a group of friends, a group of men who live in New York. And we follow them over the whole course of their lives. And even though it's a big book, Hanya Yanagihara really gives them the space to develop in a really meaningful way. We follow their relationships, their trauma, and you know when a sentence just hits you in the pit of your stomach. Yeah, that happens in here on like every other page. So just be prepared for that. They feel tangibly real. Not a word is wasted. But just a warning that if you do have triggers when reading books, I would highly recommend reading the trigger warning list for this book because it's probably gonna be in there, not gonna lie. Speaking of which, Earthlings. Holy hell, Earthlings. This book by Sayaka Murata is so shocking, but like in a good way. Not shockingly bad, shockingly absurd. I experienced a really visceral and physical response to it. Like it was making my whole body tense and cringe by how wild it is. And also quite disgusting at times, but I think that that's a sign of amazing writing to have that response and evoke something like that in you with just words on a page. Again, it's a book where the whole point is the twists and turns and surprises, so I can't spoil too much. Take a shot for every time I say that and you will be hammered. But on absolute surface value, it's about these cousins who believe that they don't belong in society to such an extent that they actually start to think of themselves as aliens from another planet, whether that's true or not. And as these aliens from society, they begin to sort of prove this to themselves by doing horrifying things that go against traditional codes and conventions and things that are morally accepted by the general mainstream of people. They want to prove that they are different from the Earthlings and so do things that will shock you to your very core. I hope that tells you all that you need to know. I'm telling you without telling you. This is translated from Japanese and I absolutely adore Sayaka Murata's writing. I think she's one of the brightest literary talents that we have writing books right now, and Earthlings is out of this world. Okay, so that's very contemporary. Now let's do some classics. The Picture of Dorian Gray is one of my absolute favorites. Oscar Wilde did what needed to be done. He put in a shift with this one. Ironically, actually, this book is about selling your soul, so very fitting for this video. It's about fading beauty, about morality, about sinning, about hedonism. It is literally a book about a painting of a guy called Dorian Gray, but there's so much more. It's a little bit gothic, a little bit philosophical, a little bit camp, and such a readable classic. I'm a big fan of this one. Next, we have The Good Soldier. This is set just before the First World War, and we basically follow two couples. Fun fact, it was actually originally titled The Saddest Story, but then, given the context of the war, the title was changed. So the title is actually kind of ironic. The original title, The Saddest Story, probably gives you a better insight into what goes down. But aside from that, this is essentially the ultimate unreliable narrator story, because the narrative is told to us in a non-chronological, non-linear way through a series of flashbacks, and it's intentionally very misleading and also intentionally very convoluted and confusing. And our narrator is kind of depicting himself as a passive voyeur, an observer, someone who doesn't have any guilt in the situation, but you start to realize that he might just be manipulating you as the reader. He is the original gaslighter. And there's also a little bit of adultery, which is always fun. The Talented Mr. Ripley is such an unforgettable novel. It's all about performance and deception and also envy, and it centers around quite an elaborate crime. It simultaneously keeps you on your toes and knocks you off your feet, because you never know if the character that we're following is going to be caught for the crime that he has committed. And you know what? I kind of just really enjoyed reading a book from the perspective of the villain. I think it makes a nice change. This is my Joker. And to give you a kind of top-line description, we essentially follow a man who becomes obsessed with an affluent man in Italy. And it's a really twisted story all about manipulation and performativity. Patricia Highsmith, I bow down to you. This is genius. Now, speaking of obsessive, let's talk about Misery by Stephen King. This is a book about a famous writer who is kidnapped by his #1 fan. And we follow him as he's held hostage in her house, and she forces him to write the next installment of his book series, purely for her own enjoyment, and she's just a psychopath. And it's just one of those books where you are desperate to find out what is going to happen, because the villain of this story just seems capable of just about anything, and you can really feel the fear of our narrator. So it really does stretch your imagination to the extreme. Keeps you right on the edge of your seat, and I think this is Stephen King at his absolute best. His name speaks for himself. A king indeed. And finally on this list, we have one of my most recent reads, and that is The Bread the Devil Need. You might have noticed that I have not shut up about this book since finishing it. I'm single-handedly running a campaign for this book to win the Women's Prize this year, because I love it. It has this really clever wit, an unforgettable main character, and it's written in Creole dialect, which does take a little while to get used to, but once you do, it really, really elevates the story. And for me, the last 100 pages of this book were just so excellent, completely just knocked the wind out of me. And I read it so voraciously. And it's about a woman from Trinidad who is just, in her life, surrounded by violence. And you just really, really root for her. You just really want the best for this character. And I loved the way that she was written. She's so irreverent and bold and so strong. Yeah, it's such a vibrant book. I would really, really recommend it. And so, that was my list. Thank you for watching Watch Mojo. Consider my soul signed over the dotted line. Unfortunately, I won't ever get to read these books again for the very first time, but you can. So I really hope this inspired you to go and pick up one of those books. You're in for a treat, my friend. Also, I will say my honourable mentions for this book would be The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, Song of Achilles, and Normal People, which are all books that I really, really love. They were so close, but let me know in the comments section down below which book you would absolutely sell your soul to read again for the very first time, because I want to read them. You know, I scratch your back, you scratch mine. We're all in this together. Actually, if you're new here, please do subscribe, I'd appreciate it. And if you're not new here and you still haven't subscribed, I'm upset, my feelings are hurt, what can I say? Don't forget you can use my Skillshare discount code or use the link in the description box down below. I'll be back soon with another video, and until next time, all the best, stay in touch, have a wonderful day, and bye-bye.